For our final video of this unit, we're going to look at adulthood. We're going to start with early to middle adulthood, which is 20 to about the age of 65. Social development in this time in your life is focused mainly around your career. Many people's friends are coming from their workplace because you spend a lot of your time in your job. Also, around the age of 40, people do tend to experience a midlife transition. And this is when people may question their life choices and their accomplishments that they have done. This comes mainly because of physical changes that are happening in their bodies, and it's kind of like leading them to understand that life is eventually going to end, and maybe that they have lived more life than they have left. However, most people pass into middle age in a relatively calm manner because they focus on the present rather than the past or the future, kind of like living in the now and coming to terms with their circumstances that they're in. This stage in life is also mainly focusing on marriage, children, and family. In today's society, we do see that people are still getting married. However, the rates of living together without being married, as well as divorce, are higher than they have been in the past. And the institution of marriage is changing. Around 90% of heterosexual adults are marrying, and 75% of divorcees will actually remarry as well. And then that divorce rate is staying right around that 50% mark for this time period. It's been around that same percentage for quite a while now. People are also choosing to have children later in life than they have in the past, mainly because of technology and better lifespans that are allowing us to do that. And then also because people are focusing more on their career before they're deciding to start a family. Okay, women's roles are changing in society, we know that, but close to 75% of all married women with school-age children are working outside of the home. And then those women are also coming home and doing the majority of the housework as well. This is what we call the second shift for women. And women, according to Arlie Hochschild, employed mothers are putting in an extra month of 24-hour days during the course of a year, meaning that they are working an additional 30 days, 24-hour days, than women who are not working outside of the home. However, women who are working outside of the home report personal satisfaction and feel like they're contributing to society. I know I love working outside of the home because I just feel like I'm doing something with my life. Okay, late adulthood is 65 plus. Physical changes that are happening, thinning hair, graying hair, skin wrinkles, loss of height. Your senses are less sensitive. Your reaction time slows. You can't really do much. You're getting tired quicker. There's a lot of things that are causing these things. There's two theories that we're going to talk about. The first one is the genetic programming theory. And this is the idea that there's a built-in time limit to the reproduction of human cells, meaning that once you reach a limit, your cells stop reproducing, which means that everything kind of shuts down. That's one theory. The other theory is the wear and tear theory. This is the idea that over time we are using our bodies and all of our cells over and over and over, and we simply are just stop working effectively, kind of like a car, right? So eventually your car is just going to stop working because it's been used so much. That's the idea of the wear and tear theory. Cognitive changes, we've talked about this before, but there is some decline in intellectual functioning. In late adulthood, our skills relating to fluid intelligence, so this is like our ability to reason, think about new solutions to problems, those tend to decline. This is the idea of like teaching an old dog new tricks, right? Like people tend to stick in their ways. They don't tend to learn new procedures. Those tend to decline. However, crystallized intelligence remains pretty steady. So like we don't lose our ability to remember facts as we get older. It's just that ability to reason and think about novel situations. Our memory doesn't really decline with age. Evidence is showing that our memory kind of stays the same. However, our neural processing slows down. So what that means is that it may take us a little bit longer. Excuse Rory in the background. So what that means is that it might take us a little bit longer to like pull out our memories, to retrieve those memories, but it's not necessarily going to we're not going to necessarily lose or have that memory decay more. Most of the memory loss tends to be limited to our episodic memory. And that's because, those episodic memories are scenes from our lives, right? And so there's things like they're just longer, they're further away in our memory. They happened a long time ago, and so we're not really remembering them quite as clearly. However, a lot of research has shown if a person stays active physically, mentally, they're using their memory, that memory loss really seems almost non-existent. However, there is some memory loss that can be attributed to disease, such as Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia. Okay, so the social world of late adulthood, basically the question here is how does one successfully age? There's a couple different theories for this. The first is the disengagement theory of aging. Basically what this says is that as we age, we gradually withdraw from the world on a physical level, psychological level, social level. And this is evolutionary, right? Or this is there's a reason for this. It's because we're inevitably going to die, right? And so us withdrawing, us coming away and kind of isolating ourselves from the rest of the world gives other people time to de-invest in us. Okay, so the idea that we can spend time more alone because we can reflect on our own life and people can kind of keep their distance so they're not quite as sad when we die. The other theory is the activity theory of aging. People who age most successfully are those who maintain their interests, their activities. They are the ones who are keeping up with their daily lives. And basically what it's saying is that late adulthood should reflect a continuation of the rest of your life. People shouldn't just stop because they're old. Okay, so these are the two theories of what people should do as they age and how they should be successful in their aging. So which is better? Well, that really just depends upon the individual and what they prefer. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is Elisabeth Kubler-Ross and her theory of death and dying and the cycle of grief that we go through with that kind of revolve around death and dying. She developed 5 stages of grief. And what she said is that every person facing death or some sort of grief experience go through these 5 stages. She doesn't believe that we pass through them all in the same order. We can kind of go through them at in different ways, and we spend a little bit, the timing of how long you spend in those stages is really individual. However, she does believe that everyone kind of goes through these stages in some form or another. You can probably see examples of these stages when dealing with trauma, from learning about a terminal illness to dealing with the death of a loved one, and even so much as the ending of a relationship, people go through these. So we all tend to go through these stages of grief.